So, welcome back to another episode of covering Wikipedia articles or general articles to various topics to help you learn German, and I think let's just get into it. Here we have an article, a Wikipedia article, as basically always, but about blue whales, Blauwale in German. We're gonna have to see how far we get today because maybe we'll cover up until this, but this will be a pretty long video because it always takes a lot of time to explain it and to read it out loud. But yeah, we'll see how far we're gonna get. And I think let's just get into it. Blauwal. Der Blauwal, in Klammern, or just say it the way, Balaenoptera musculus, so you could just say der Blauwal in Klammern Balaenoptera musculus. Excuse me if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but it's a bit difficult. Or you could just say der Blauwal Balaenoptera musculus, so without the brackets, but yeah. Ist ein Bartenwal in der Familie der Furchenwale, Balaenopteridae, or something, This is Latin, so yeah. Mit einer Körperlänge von bis zu 33 Metern und einer Körpermasse von bis zu 200 Tonnen ist der Blauwal eines der größten und schwersten bekannten Tiere der Erdgeschichte. Als Kosmopolit ist diese Art in allen Ozeanen der Erde verbreitet. So, der Blauwal, the blue whale, this is the Latin way of saying it. This is, I think, the specification of the kind of like family, I don't know, but I don't think I have to get into it. Ist ein Bartenwal in der Familie der Furchenwale. Bartenwal is a kind of, let me just translate that. That is a bit more difficult. A baleen, I don't know if that's the right translation for it, but it's kind of a specification for the groups, whales, or in general animals, but in this case whales, are divided. So they are, I think, divided into various groups like Bartenwal, which kind of would translate it, even though Barte is different than Bart, but it kind of derives from the word Bart, which just means beard, but Barte is something else, that is this kind of thing, which is kind of a bit like a beard, but yeah, that is in terms of whales. Anyways, this is one of the specifications for whales. I think there are also other kinds of things. Let me just Bartenwale. This is one of the kind of, what's it called, ranges, kind of classifications. So yeah, but I don't think we're gonna have to get into it. You can explore this on your own if you want to, but yeah. And Bartenwal, this just says it is a part of the group of these kinds of whales which own these I don't know which way do you translate, baleens? I don't know if it is correct. Bartenwal. Oh, baleen whales, the right translation, yeah, of course. But these kind of baleens in their mouth to filter the, what's it called? Is it called plankton? In German it's definitely called this way. Plankton, yeah. The very little sea creatures, these like mini cancer things, shrimp, this kind of stuff, through their mouth to just eat, basically. So it is a baleen whale in der Familie der Furchenwale, which is another classification, in the family of the Furchenwale. Let me just translate that. I don't know the actual way of saying that. Rorquals. I don't know if this is correct. Yeah, kind of. Furche is, which way do you say that in English? It's kind of a, is roll the right way? Furche, furrow. It's kind of like, kind of a groove cut trench channel. I think it's, I'm not quite sure, but I think it's kind of more related. Let me find a picture. Yeah, probably not. I already pulled up some pictures. I think it's kind of referring to these things, which are in German called Furchen, which are these kind of, I don't know if fur is the right way to say that, but let me just find another word. Rillen, grooves, but like these, looks kind of like if you carved it out, but I think you get what I mean. I don't know if it's related to that, but anyways, this Furche, or in this case the plural form, Furchen just means grooves, or whichever way you say that, furrows, I don't know. And this is the kind of group of whales, or family, or classification, which they belong to. In this case it's family, and this is just a division of whales, Bartenwal. Anyways, der Blauwal Balaenoptera musculus ist ein Bartenwal in der Familie der Furchenwale, in Klammern Balaenopteridae or something, Mit einer Körperlänge von bis zu 33 Metern und einer Körpermasse von bis zu 200 Tonnen ist der Blauwal eines der größten und schwersten bekannten Tiere der Erdgeschichte. So that would just translate to, first of word by word, with a feminine Körperlänge, body length von bis zu 33 Metern, of up to 33 meters, and a body length und einer Körpermasse von bis zu 200 Tonnen, of up to 200 tons, ist der Blauwal, is the blue whale, eines der größten und schwersten, one of the größten und schwersten, because that just means of the, because that's the genitive case, eines der größten und schwersten, one of the biggest, hugest, and, or longest, longest is not the right way, größten, but this just referring to, the size, in general, the length, und schwersten and heaviest bekannten Tiere der Erdgeschichte, known, could also mean popular, but in this case, known, Tiere der Erdgeschichte, animals of the Earth's history, so history of Earth in this case, so in general this means, or in the context, with a body length of up to 33 meters and a body mass of up to 200 tons. The blue whale is one of the biggest or hugest and heaviest known animals in the history of this planet or of Earth, the Earth, I don't know. Als Kosmopolit ist diese Art in allen Ozeanen der Erde verbreitet. As cosmopolite, I don't actually know what that is, but I think it's kind of referring to being everywhere. Cosmopolitan, let me just pull up cosmopolite. If you want to know what the word means in German, you just can, if you want synonyms, you can just type in, by the way, Synonym. So you kind of have another word to describe it, or you just can, if you want to just keep it the simplest, you can just say Bedeutung. Just if you want to know that in English, of course, it's the same, just for German. Bedeutung, Kosmopolit, Weltbürger, which just means world, what's it called? Inhibitor? I don't know if it's the right way to say that. Bürger, let me just, Weltbürger. It just means someone who's everywhere, citizen, I don't know if inhibit is even the right way to say that, but citizen of the whole world, so I guess my kind of assessment was correct. That is something, or someone who's kind of everywhere. Is it right way to say that? Inhibited? Let me just check. Inhibit. No, that is definitely not the right way to say that. Sorry, but had a wrong translation in my head. But who's someone who's a citizen everywhere, who's like home to the whole globe, I guess. Yeah. Maybe we'll actually just do one of these and one of these. This is the more general kind of explanation to the anatomy, for the anatomy of the whale. Because here we have Merkmale, which is what do you say that? Merkmale. Features. Yeah, you could say features. Not in terms of music, by the way, but just in terms of, the way it looks. Anatomie, which is of course just anatomy. Blauwale werden im Durchschnitt 26 Meter lang, wobei die in den Gewässern der Südhalbkugel lebenden Exemplare in der Regel größer sind als ihre auf der Nordhalbkugel beheimateten Artgenossen. Die Tiere erreichen eine Länge von bis zu 30 Metern und der größte nach wissenschaftlichen Methoden vermessene Blauwalkamm auf 33,6 Meter. In Klammern, or just in general, 1922, so you don't always need to say in Klammern, but you could. Damit ist der Blauwal eines der größten Tiere, die je gelebt haben. Nur wenige Tiere wurden und werden möglicherweise etwas länger, darunter Dinosaurier wie Seismosaurus und Padagotitan sowie der rezente Schnurwurm Linnaeus longissimus. Die ausgestorbene Walart Perucetus colossus, excuse me if I didn't pronounce that correctly, but übertraf den Blauwal möglicherweise an Gewicht, nicht aber an Länge. So, Blauwale werden im Durchschnitt 26 Meter lang, wobei die in den Gewässern der Südhalbkugel lebenden Exemplare in der Regel größer sind als ihre auf der Nordhalbkugel beheimateten Artgenossen. That would translate to word by word. Blue whales become, or in this case, you could also say become, but it's in terms of size, so they grow up to, but this would translate to become or to be in the future tense, so going to be, will be, but in this case it just means grows up to. Werden im Durchschnitt 26 Meter lang. In the Durchschnitt. What's it called? This is the way to say that. Durchschnitt. Yeah, on average, of course. On average, Durchschnitt, by the way, translates to through, cut. So this would say, like, if you get the middle of something, this is the, what's it called? Medium, the average in this case, to kind of say that this is what most things, whatever you're referring to, is like that. So on average, on the throw cut, if you were to translate that word by word, 26 Meter lang, 26 meters long, so they grow up to 26 meters, wobei die in den Gewässern der Südhalbkugel lebenden Exemplare in der Regel größer sind als ihre auf der Nordhalbkugel beheimateten Artgenossen. Wobei, which kind of is like even though, or whereas, it's more, I think, translating to whereas, so whereas die in den Gewässern der Südhalbkugel lebenden Exemplare, the in the waters, so a kind of in German derivation, like something that is not like directly related to the word, but derivation of the word water, Gewässern, so that just includes like rivers, seas, oceans, lakes, Der Südhalbkugel lebenden Exemplare, so in the waters of the what's it called? Southern half globe, kind of. Let me just check. Kugel. Southern hemisphere, yeah. Kind of the right way to say that. Südhalbkugel, lebenden Exemplare. By the way, Südhalbkugel is just south or southern in this case. This is more a genitive, so of whom, of who, whose, you know. So, the south, so southern half Kugel, which is just ball, I guess. Let me just, what should be correct? Kugel. Yeah, this is not the right ball. Yeah, in this case, of course, referring to globe. Halbkugel, yeah, half globe in this case. So the southern half globe, southern hemisphere. Lebenden Exemplare, living examples. We did up to that. In der Regel größer sind als ihre auf der Nordhalbkugel beheimateten Artgenossen. In the what's it called? Regel. This in general translates to in der Regel is just usually, mostly, but Regel, what's the translation? I forgot. Sorry. Regel. Rule, yeah, of course. So it would be kind of, if you were to get that, what do you say, like bridge in your mind to kind of connect the dots, it's like following the rule of, in this case, kind of nature, like, you know. So usually, or in the rule, in this case, but it's of course not the correct translation, bigger are than, größer sind als ihre auf der Nordhalbkugel beheimateten Artgenossen, bigger are than there on the, like in the northern hemisphere, but there's of course like northern half globe, but yeah, northern hemisphere of course. Beheimateten Artgenossen, so what's it called? Beheimatet, so that you're like a home there. Heimat is kind of like the region you're home to. Town, but not town, you know. Home area, home ground. Beheimatet. Native, yeah, of course. Where was I? The native Artgenossen, which just means they're kind of, what's it called? Not colleagues, but in terms of the species, they're other, what's it called? They're other, just the other, what's it called? No, example, the other whales, like Artgenossen, we just translate that. Nossen. Conspecifics. Interesting. But yeah. They're conspecifics, I guess. Where were we? Yeah, here. So they turn out to be 26 meters long, whereas in the waters of the southern hemisphere, the like kind of examples, but what's it called? The Exemplare. No copies. The that's not the right word to say about that, but in this case, exemplar just means one of these, you know, just one of something. So one of the whales, or their living exemplar, in this case whales, are not following the rules, are usually bigger than the ones living in the northern hemisphere, the native, conspecific native to the northern hemisphere. Die Tiere erreichen eine Länge von bis zu 30 Metern und der größte nach wissenschaftlichen Methoden vermessene Blauwal kam auf 33,6 Meter 1922. Oh, in Klammern 1922. So, the animals reach, word by word, reach a length of up to 30 meters and the biggest after, or what's it called? Not after, according to, but in this case after, wissenschaftlichen, of course, scientific methods, measured blue whale came onto 33.6 meters 1922. That was word by word. So that would translate to, in the context, the animals reach. Do you say reach a length in English? But I think you get what I mean. They, sie erreichen eine Länge. So yeah, they reach a length, you can say that, I guess, of up to 30 meters. And the biggest, according to scientific methods, nach, of course, is always I think it's preposition, you call that this way. This is, or in terms of time, or either in terms of time or in terms of like location. Nach can mean nach der Ampel, after the traffic light. Could also be in terms of time, or nach 10 Minuten, after 10 minutes, so, but nach wissenschaftlichen Methoden just is a phrase to say according to, in this case, scientific methods. So, und der größte nach wissenschaftlichen Methoden vermessene Blauwal kam auf 33,6 Meter, in Klammern 1922. So the biggest, according to scientific methods, measured blue whale kam auf 33,6 Meter. That would translate to word by word, as I already said, came onto, up to, or up. This is kind of more of a phrase in German, to 33.6 meters, but in general this means just it reached a length of 33.6 meters, which was of course measured in 1922. Yeah. Damit ist der Blauwal eines der größten Tiere, die je gelebt haben. With that, damit, with, da just means there, mit just means with, so damit means, but in general means with that, because da can also say, in this case it just says with that. Let's just keep it this way. Ist der Blauwal eines der größten Tiere? With that, is the blue whale one of the biggest animals? Genitive case, of course. With that, the blue whale is one of the biggest animals, die je gelebt haben. That, the plural form, not the singular feminine form. Die je gelebt haben, that, ever. This can also mean like per, pro, which is in German another word for that is pro, like per second, je Sekunde, but in this case just means to ever have lived. Gelebt, like lived in the third past tense, so like, or the second past tense in this case. We have like, I don't know how many past tenses we have a lot of them, but we have the Präteritum, so the simple past, which is lebte, ich lebte, du lebtest, sie lebten, for example. And this is gelebt, where you need a supportive verb, so ich habe gelebt, I have lived, kind of. And it is not used the same way in English as it is in German, but in general you can compare them pretty well, I think. Die je gelebt haben, so that ever have lived, haben, which is the, as I already said, supportive verb. Ich habe gelebt, I have lived. I think in German, which is in English not the same, you can either use, not either, but there are two different verbs. I think in French it's the same with going and having or something, I'm not sure, where you can either say I am or I have. For example, in this case, ich habe gelebt, I have lived, or ich bin gekommen, ich bin gegangen. I am, word by word, I am come, I am gone, instead of like I have gone. But yeah, this is just some grammatical excursion, I guess. Yeah. In this case, I also wanted to explain I think I explained it in a previous video also, but I'm going to explain it again this time. Damit ist der Blauwal eines der größten Tiere, die je gelebt haben. So this comma, because a lot of people when they, especially I think when they start learning German, but also later stages, they are confused by where to put the comma and why there has to be a comma and there not, and you know, these kinds of things, because it's a bit difficult in German. There is a comma because this die that have ever lived, this is the Nebensatz, so the, what's it called English, Nebensatz, subordinate clause, I'm just going to trust that. So this is the subordinate clause and this is the main sentence kind of, and this is just the referring parts, die je gelebt haben, that have ever lived. I think in English you don't need to put a comma between the that and the part you're referring to. So this die je gelebt haben refers to this kind of noun, this in general this noun, Tiere, animals, but with the descriptive like adjective, but yeah. Anyways, so if you have a sentence where you put like, that have ever lived, that has done this or this, that is like, ich bin ein Mensch, der auf dieser Erde lebt. I am a human that lives on this earth. Or er spielt mit einem Ball, der blau ist. He plays with a ball that is blue. You always, if you refer to something that was in the main sentence before that, need to put a comma like on the to kind of put them apart on the end of the main sentence to, what's it called, to make clear that you're referring to that, because otherwise it's just grammatically incorrect. Of course people are gonna understand, but it's kind of confusing, in German at least, when you're seeing this, and this could kind of be in general it's kind of hard to explain, but if you're German you know this is kind of a bit confusing if you see this. So if you want to refer to something from the first sentence, you always, if it's a das, if it's a die, you always need to put, or der, you know, these articles, you always, remember that, need to put a comma behind this main sentence and between this referring point, like die größten Tiere, die je gelebt haben, comma, or in this case, of course not this way, die größten Tiere, comma, die je gelebt haben, the biggest animals, comma, that have ever lived, of course only in German. Yeah, is there another example for that here? Yeah, here we have another example, for example, but you know, I think, by the way, we're gonna stop here because this is probably gonna be longer than I expected it to be. Anyways, here, for example, we have, I'm not gonna translate this whole sentence, but just to kind of show you the pattern, the grammatical pattern, because it's important. Blauwale weisen ein Sexualdimorphismus der Größe auf, which is just, I'm just gonna translate that after that to kind of get you to know what this sentence in general means. Ein Sexualdimorphismus in der Größe auf. Weibchen sind im Schnitt bis zu 6% größer und können am Ende der Nahrungssaison bis zu 200 Tonnen wiegen. Das ist mehr als jede andere bekannte Tierart wiegt, die jemals existierte. So, I mean, this we can basically just say is not important for the grammatical kind of things that I'm going to explain, this first part, but yeah, I'm just going to translate it in general. So they kind of show a, what's it called, sexual dimorphism, where the females are 6% in general bigger than the males, which is not very common in nature, I guess. and they can weigh up to 200 tons at the end of the eating season, where they like, I guess, eat a lot. And I think this must probably be like summer or something, but I'm not sure. So let's get into this sentence. Das ist mehr. You can see that, just look at it as just as one sentence, because that would be correct as in general as one. Das ist mehr als jede bekannte Tierart wiegt, die jemals existierte. So that is more als jede bekannte Tierart wiegt, than every known species of animal weighs, die jemals existierte. So that is more than every known species weight that has ever lived, which is kind of funny because this is the same sentence that is kind of referred to here, or the same kind of meaning, die jemals existierte. So this is also referring to the species of animal other known animal kind weighs. So this is more than any other kind of animal or species weighs that ever has lived or existed. So here you of course also need to put a comma between that. The weighs is just the verb at the end of the sentence because the construction is this way. I'm not going to get into that, but that ever has lived, jemals, is basically the kind of more, the longer version of this je, or je is the shorter version of jemals, which is just saying one time, jemals, and, or once in this case, that once or ever existed. In English you would say ever, but in this case it just means kind of, it means ever, but once. So here the comma between the referring point, als jede andere Tierart wiegt, die jemals existierte, als jede andere bekannte oh my gosh, I can't pronounce that. Als jede andere bekannte Tierart wiegt, die jemals existierte. Just to show you again. Is there another example? I don't want to get into too much. Yeah, here we have another one of that. Where here, for example, die unterseits blassblau gefärbten Flipper, this is referring to the fins of the arm fins, I guess, the breast fins, these kinds of things. Die unterseits blassblau gefärbten Flipper sind dagegen sehr schmal und haben eine Länge, die etwa 14% der Gesamtlänge des Tieres entspricht. So this just means in general, I'm going to leave some words away just to get you the gist of the sentence. The breast fins are in comparison to, referring to something else that was before, dagegen, which just kind of means anti something, but yeah, very thin, very schmal, narrow, yeah, of course, and have a length that, of course, again referring to the length, die etwa 14% der Gesamtlänge des Tieres entspricht, that just that makes up for 14% of the entire length of the animal. Entsprechen, let me just translate that. Correspond to, yeah, kind of, but yeah, you get what I mean. I'm just wanting to show you a length. They have a length, and then further explaining this, so referring to the length, die etwa 14% der Gesamtlänge des Tieres entspricht. I think by now you should get what I mean, but yeah. Let's just get on with this. Damit, we did that. Nur wenige Tiere wurden, the past tense of that, wenige Tiere wurden und werden möglicherweise etwas länger, darunter Dinosaurier wie der Seismosaurus und Patagotitan sowie der rezente Schnurwurm Lineus longissimus. So, with that is the blue, of course, already did that, sorry. Nur wenige Tiere wurden und werden möglicherweise etwas länger. Only few, oh yeah, I think few is the right word to say that. Wenig, is there another word to say that? I'm just, little, you could say also, I guess. Just referring to the small amount of something. Wurden, became, or in this case grew, und werden, and become, or grow. Möglicherweise, possibly, a bit longer. Etwas could also say something, but you use the same word in German to say that it is a bit more, a bit less, a bit, just, a bit. Nur wenige Tiere wurden und werden möglicherweise etwas länger. Only little or few animals, or species, I guess in this case, but animals, grew and grow in this case, but this just means become, but that's the way you say that in German. Möglicherweise, possibly, a bit longer. Darunter Dinosaurier wie Seismosaurus und Patagotitan sowie der rezente Schnurwurm Linnaeus longissimus. Darunter, this is in general a preposition saying beneath something, but this refers to the category, so kind of beneath that. They are these kind of species are located, but in general this means not under them. What's it called? So they are kind of categorized in that kind of thing. So categorized in the animals, or they make up the category for the animals that are possibly growing only a bit longer than that, Hope you can understand that. Or you were able to. Darunter Dinosaurier, so beneath that, but in this case it just means including. You could say including. Dinosaurs like the Seismosaurus, I don't freaking know what that is, but some kind of dinosaur, I guess. Und Patagotitan, and Patagotitan, or something, Nobody knows what that is. Sowie der rezente Schnurwurm Linnaeus longissimus, which is, I think, a kind of worm. I think you say worm. That lives in the, I think, actually, is it also called Northern Sea? Nordsee? I may be talking shit, but, North Sea, but like the northern, or also the eastern sea parts in Germany, the only parts where Germany is kind of, connected to the sea, I guess, the northern kinds of things with Denmark and up there, these sea parts. Anyways, I think it's like native to these areas, but I might be completely wrong. So only very little or very few animals grow a bit longer than that, possibly a bit longer. Including dinosaurs, or this includes dinosaurs like the Seismosaurus and Patagotitan, as well as the recent. It's not recent, but recent in German just means now living and not having gone extinct. Schnurwurm, which is, as I already explained, this kind of animal, Schnurwurm. Threadworm, I guess that's kind of correct, which is just, kind of worm, special kind, I guess. Die ausgestorbene Walart Perucetus colossus übertraf den Blauwal möglicherweise an Gewicht, nicht aber an Länge. The gone extinct, I guess, or died out. In German, if you say gone extinct, you don't say gone extinct word by word, you say died out, kind of. Ausgestorbene, aus would be out, like, but just don't see like word by word completely correct. That's what I always say, kind of, but yeah, I think you get what I mean. So out, died, so died out, I guess. Whale kind, the gone extinct or died out word by word. Whale kind or whale species. Pericetus colossus or Pericetus colossus übertraf den Blauwal möglicherweise an Gewicht. Over, what's it called? Exceeded, I guess you would say. Word by word, like very word by word, like dissected. Those would mean over meat or over, I don't know, like word by word. This would mean over meat, because that comes from the word treffen, which is meeting someone. But yeah, this is just saying exceed. Or treffen could also mean like if I like do, what's it called, with Bogenschießen or something, archery. If the arrow hits the target right on the red dot in the middle, I hit the goal, like I hit the target on the exact same spot I wanted it to. And in German you say, ich treffe das Ziel. I kind of met the goal. I'm not quite sure if that's the right way to say that, but And that is just saying over hit, but I think you get what I mean. It just means exceeded. The blue whale, possibly an Gewicht, in or on, as a different kind of preposition in German. Weight, so in terms of weight, this just means not but on, but in this case in terms of length. So the extinct, gone extinct, or dead out, or whatever way you want to say that, gone extinct, or the, I think if you were to say that pretty, what's the way you say that, pretty correct, maybe you were to say the whale kind that has gone extinct exceeded, Pericetus colossus of course, exceeded the blue whale, possibly in terms of weight, but not in terms of length. Yeah, I think that was it for today. I think that was pretty long. If you have any questions, if you just have anything to say, leave it in the comments. Leave a comment in general if you want to. Leave a like, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye!